When my ex-mother-in-law gently told me, "You're still family even after the divorce," I genuinely thought she meant it, until I found out she'd been secretly helping my ex sue me for full custody. You know, there are moments in life when you realize the people you thought you knew, the ones you trusted, are capable of something truly shocking. For me, that moment came when I found myself fighting tooth and nail against my ex-mother-in-law, a woman who tried to weaponize her love for my son, turning our lives into a living nightmare, all because I dared to ask for a little respect. I'm a 29-year-old dental hygienist, and 2 years ago, my world got flipped upside down when my marriage to Marcus ended. Our son Caleb was just 3. The divorce itself wasn't terrible. We managed to co-parent pretty well. But I quickly found out my biggest problem wouldn't be Marcus, but his mom Patricia. During my marriage, Patricia and I seemed to get along. She was the devoted mother type, maybe a little too devoted to Marcus, but I figured that was normal. She'd raised him alone after his dad died, so he was her whole world. She was always polite, included me, and seemed genuinely happy when Caleb was born. When Marcus and I separated, she actually reached out to me before Marcus even told her. "Honey," she'd said over coffee, "whatever happens, you're still family. You gave me my grandson, and that makes you special." I was so touched. Divorce is isolating, and losing your in-laws feels like another layer of grief. With my own parents across the country, her words meant a lot. For a few months, things were great with Patricia. She'd text, invite us for Sunday dinners, even helped me move. I thought, wow, maybe this is one of those rare cases where divorce actually strengthens relationships. Boy, was I wrong. Things started getting weird, little by little. She'd just show up at my apartment unannounced, just to see if Caleb needed anything. First it was sweet, but then it became a pattern. Tuesdays when Marcus was at poker, Saturday mornings when she knew Caleb and I were home. I was in the neighborhood, she'd say, even though her house was 20 minutes away with nothing around me. I let it slide because Caleb loved her, but it got intrusive. She'd comment on his food, suggest educational toys, or hint about his bedtime. Then there were my dates. I don't date much single mom life, you know? But the few times I did, Patricia would somehow always appear at my door. "Oh, you're all dressed up? Going somewhere?" I was hoping to spend time with Caleb. The first time, coincidence. The third time I was suspicious, but how did she know? 6 months ago it blew up. Caleb and I were so excited for a zoo trip. I'd bought him a little camera, we planned our exhibits. But as I opened the door to load the car, there was Patricia sitting on my steps. "Surprise," she chirped. "I thought Caleb and I could have a grandmother-grandson day. Actually, we're going to the zoo." "Perfect. I love the zoo. We can all go." My blood ran cold. Well, I was hoping for some one-on-one time with Caleb. Her smile faltered. "One-on-one time? But I'm his grandmother. Family time is important." I felt awkward, but I held my ground. "Of course, but sometimes I want to do things just with my son." "That seems a little selfish, don't you think? Caleb loves spending time with me." That comment really got under my skin, but Caleb had come to the door excited, so I invited her along to avoid a scene. The zoo trip was miserable. She criticized every parenting decision. Too much cotton candy, not enough animal facts, too permissive with the goats. After that, I knew I had to set boundaries. The next week I called her. "Hey, I love that you want to see Caleb, but I'd really appreciate it if you could call before coming over." "Call first?" "But I'm his grandmother." "I know, and I want you to see him. I just need a little notice so I can make sure we're available." "Available? He's 5. What could he possibly have scheduled?" "Sometimes we have plans, or I have work to catch up on, or I just want a quiet day." Long pause. "I see. So now I need permission to see my own grandson." "It's not permission, Patricia, it's courtesy. Courtesy would be welcoming family when they want to spend time with your child." The conversation was a disaster. I thought maybe she understood. I was wrong. The very next Saturday, 8 a.m., she showed up. I was still in my pajamas, coffee in hand, enjoying the quiet. "Patricia, what are you doing here so early?" "I brought breakfast," she said, holding a McDonald's bag. "I thought Caleb might like pancakes." "He's still sleeping. And I asked you to call first." "Don't be ridiculous," she scoffed, pushing past me. "I have every right to see my grandson whenever I want. You have a right to see him during your scheduled times with Marcus, but this is my home and my custody time." "Custody time?" She laughed, a truly unpleasant sound. "He's not a possession. He's a child. A child who needs his grandmother." I was fuming, but Caleb woke up, padding out, excited to see her in the McDonald's. Again I felt trapped. Then she said it. The line she absolutely shouldn't have crossed. If you keep trying to limit my access, I might need to talk to Marcus about adjusting the custody arrangement. A child needs stability, and all this hostility toward family isn't healthy for him. I was stunned. Was she actually threatening my custody? Patricia, I'm not being hostile. I'm asking for basic courtesy. Courtesy goes both ways. I raised my son in this house, and you can't keep me from my family. Wait, this house. That's when it hit me. She thought I still lived in the house Marcus and I shared during our marriage. But we sold that over a year ago. Patricia, I don't live in that house anymore. Marcus and I sold it. This is my apartment. Her face turned red. Well, wherever you live, you can't keep Caleb from me. I'm not trying to keep him from you. I'm asking you to respect my boundaries. Your boundaries are unreasonable. I'm his grandmother, and grandmothers have rights. She stormed out, but not before telling Caleb she'd see him very soon, and that she missed him so much when mean people try to keep us apart. I was furious she put Caleb in the middle. I thought maybe finally she'd gotten the message. Wrong again. Over the next month, she showed up 6 more times unannounced. And the texts. Constant texts all hours of the day and night. What was Caleb eating? Was he getting enough outdoor time? Enough reading? Too much screen time? Felt like surveillance. I tried talking to Marcus, but he was useless. She's just excited. You're being too sensitive. Marcus, she's showing up at my home and questioning my parenting. She raised me just fine. Maybe you could listen to her advice. That's when I knew. Marcus wasn't going to help. He might even be encouraging her. So I got a doorbell camera. Not to spy, just to see who was at my door before I opened it. Best decision ever. 3 days later I got a motion alert at work. I checked the app. Patricia was at my door, not knocking but peering through my windows. She walked around the side of my building trying to look into Caleb's bedroom. When she couldn't, she came back and tried turning the doorknob. She was trying to walk into my apartment while no one was home. I saved the video and called Marcus. Your mother just tried to enter my apartment while we weren't home. What? That's ridiculous. She wouldn't do that. I have video, Marcus. I sent it to him. He called back 20 minutes later. Okay, that's weird. But maybe she was worried something was wrong since you didn't answer. She didn't knock, Marcus. She went straight for the doorknob. I'll talk to her. Whatever he said to her only made it worse. 2 days later, another alert. This time Patricia had a key. She was standing at my door, key in hand, trying to unlock my apartment. The key didn't work. I had never given her a key. Watching her try to let herself in was terrifying. Where did she get it? Did Marcus give it to her? Did she make a copy? I confronted him. Did you give your mother a key to my apartment? No, of course not. Then where did she get one? I don't know. Maybe she had a copy made from when you lived in our old house. Marcus, we sold that house over a year ago. And even if she had a key to that house, it wouldn't work on my apartment. I don't know what to tell you. I realized Marcus was either lying or willfully ignorant. Either way, he wasn't going to protect my boundaries. That weekend, when Patricia showed up unannounced again, I didn't open the door. She knocked for 10 minutes, then started calling. I know you're in there, she yelled when I answered. Caleb's bike is outside. We're having quiet time today, Patricia. You can see Caleb during Marcus custody time. This is ridiculous. I'm his grandmother. And I'm his mother, and I'm asking you to respect our privacy. You're being selfish and vindictive. A child needs his family. Caleb has family. He sees you plenty. Not enough. I hardly see him anymore because you're poisoning him against me. That was a flat-out lie. I'd never said a negative word about her. I'm not poisoning him against anyone, Patricia. I'm asking for basic respect. Respect? You want respect? I should be respected as his grandmother. I have rights. What rights exactly? Grandparent rights. I can petition for court-ordered visitation if I need to. The threat was clear. Unlimited access or court. I hung up and immediately called a family law attorney, Miss Chun. She was reassuring but firm. Grandparent rights are limited, especially when both parents are alive and involved. Patricia would have to prove denying access was harmful to Caleb. She's threatening court because I asked her to call before visiting. That's not going to hold up. Miss Chun advised me to document everything. Unannounced visits, texts, attempts to enter, putting Caleb in the middle. I started a detailed log. I also changed my locks and didn't tell Marcus or Patricia. That's when Patricia truly became unhinged. When her key didn't work, she started banging on my door, yelling loud enough for neighbors to hear. Open this door right now. I know my grandson is in there and I have every right to see him. My upstairs neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, came down. It was humiliating. Patricia also started telling anyone who would listen that I was keeping Caleb from her and poisoning a child against his family. Her Facebook posts were infuriating. When someone uses a child as a weapon to hurt family members, praying for families torn apart by vindictive people. It was clearly about me, but she made it sound like I'd completely cut her off. Marcus, of course, blamed me for the escalation. She's upset because you're being unreasonable. Just let her visit. What's the big deal? The big deal, Marcus, is she tried to let herself into my apartment with a key. How is that okay? She probably just wanted to see Caleb. I realized then that Marcus saw his mother's behavior as normal, which explained a lot about why our marriage failed. The final straw came 2 weeks ago. Caleb had a stomach bug, so I was home from work. Around noon, I heard Patricia's voice outside. But she wasn't alone. I looked at the doorbell camera. Patricia was standing there with 2 strangers, an older man and a woman with a clipboard. Patricia was telling them she was very concerned about her grandson's welfare and suspected I was isolating him from family and possibly neglecting his needs. The woman with the clipboard knocked and identified herself as a social worker. Patricia had called Child Protective Services on me. I was horrified, but I let them in, answered every question. They wanted to see Caleb, check our food, his bedroom, ask about his routine. Caleb was confused and scared. The social worker was professional but thorough. She interviewed me about Patricia's allegations. Emotionally unstable, keeping Caleb from family, substance abuse. All completely false. The social worker seemed to realize pretty quickly this was a vindictive complaint. Has there been any family conflict that might have motivated this report? She asked. I explained everything. I see. Unfortunately, we get these kinds of reports sometimes during custody disputes or family conflicts. The good news is that your son appears healthy and well cared for, and your home environment seems stable. The investigation closed within a week, but the damage was done. Having CPS at my door because of Patricia's lies was traumatizing for both Caleb and me. That's when I finally snapped. I called Patricia and told her exactly what I thought. You called CPS on me because I asked you to call before visiting. You traumatized your grandson by having strangers come to our home and question him about his safety. You crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. I was worried about Caleb's well-being. A child shouldn't be isolated from his family. He's not isolated. He sees you every week during Marcus custody time. That's not enough. I should be able to see my grandson whenever I want. No, Patricia, you shouldn't. I'm his mother, and I have the right to control who comes into our home and when. You have no right to keep a child from his grandmother. I have every right to protect my child from someone who calls CPS over a boundary dispute. I hung up and immediately blocked her number. But blocking her didn't stop her. She responded by completely losing her mind. Since she couldn't call me directly, she started calling my work. I'm a dental hygienist at a small practice, and having my ex-mother-in-law rant about family drama there was beyond embarrassing. My boss, Dr. Martinez, pulled me aside. Someone called 3 times today asking for you, claiming it was a family emergency. When I said you were with a patient, she started telling me you're keeping her grandson from her, and that I should talk some sense into you. Is everything all right? I had to explain everything, mortifying. Dr. Martinez was understanding but clear. The calls had to stop. I'm going to have to ask you to handle this personal matter, so it doesn't continue to disrupt our practice. So now her harassment was affecting my job. She escalated her social media campaign too. A friend sent me screenshots. Her posts got increasingly unhinged. When someone uses a child as a weapon to hurt family members, they show their true character. Praying for families torn apart by vindictive people who don't understand that blood is thicker than water. It was clearly about me, but she made it sound like I was cutting off contact completely. Marcus predictably still took her side. She's just upset. Maybe if you just apologized and let her visit normally, this would all blow over. Apologize for what, Marcus? For asking her to call before showing up. For overreacting and making her feel unwelcome. She called CPS on me because I set a boundary. How is that overreacting? She was worried about Caleb. There was no point. Marcus would never see his mother's behavior as inappropriate. The most concerning development was when Patricia showed up at Caleb's daycare. The director called me at work. A woman named Patricia is here asking to pick up Caleb. She says she's his grandmother. She's not on his authorized pickup list, but she's claiming there's been a family emergency. My blood ran cold. Do not release my son to her. She's not authorized. She's very insistent there's an emergency involving you. There's no emergency. Please don't let her take my child. I left work immediately. Patricia was still there, arguing with staff. There's been a misunderstanding, she told me when she saw me. I was just trying to help when the daycare called about Caleb being sick. The daycare didn't call anyone. Caleb isn't sick. Well, I was in the area and thought I'd check on him. You need to leave now. You can't keep me from my grandson forever. The director intervened and asked her to leave, but the fact that she tried to pick up Caleb without my permission was the final, absolute straw. I met with my attorney the next day to discuss a restraining order. The restraining order hearing didn't go as I expected. I brought everything: doorbell camera footage, calls to work, the false CPS report, the daycare attempt. Patricia showed up with her own lawyer. A completely different story. She was a loving grandmother, deeply concerned about Caleb's welfare. I was increasingly unstable, isolating Caleb from his father's family. Her lawyer argued her visits were legitimate concern, and my extreme reaction was evidence of my inability to co-parent effectively. They even tried to use the CPS report as evidence of her concerns, conveniently leaving out that it was unfounded. The judge listened, reviewed. He granted a limited restraining order. She had to stay away from my home and workplace, but it didn't stop her from seeing Caleb during Marcus custody time. While I find some of the respondents' behavior concerning, the judge said, there's insufficient evidence of a direct threat to the petitioner or child. The order will require the respondent to respect the petitioner's boundaries regarding her home and workplace, but will not interfere with existing family relationships. It wasn't everything, but it was something. She couldn't come to my apartment or call my work. Here's where it got interesting. Marcus was furious. You got a restraining order against my mother. Are you insane? Your mother tried to pick up our son from daycare without permission and called CPS on me over a boundary dispute. She was worried about him. She was harassing me, and now there's a legal order saying so. This is going to destroy our co-parenting relationship. What co-parenting relationship? Marcus, you've taken your mother's side in every single conflict. That conversation ended with him threatening to take me back to court to modify custody. Maybe Caleb would be better off spending more time with a parent who doesn't get restraining orders against family members. It scared me, but Ms. Chun assured me judges don't look favorably on parents who weaponize custody over family conflicts. Document everything, she said. If he tries to modify custody, we'll show the court the pattern of harassment that led to you needing a restraining order in the first place. The most unexpected part has been the reaction from others. My own parents were horrified. Honey, that woman sounds unhinged, my mom said. A grandmother doesn't call CPS on her grandchild's mother over visitation disputes. My dad was more direct. She tried to break into your apartment, and your ex-husband thinks that's normal? You're well rid. But some people were less supportive. A few of Marcus' relatives told me I was overreacting. His Aunt Carmen called saying Patricia was heartbroken, and I was tearing the family apart. She just wants to see her grandson. Is that really so terrible? She can see him during Marcus custody time. I just don't want her showing up at my home unannounced. But you're his mother. You should want him to have a relationship with his grandmother. I do want him to have a relationship with her. I want it to be a healthy relationship with appropriate boundaries. Carmen didn't get it. The most frustrating thing is how some people think being a grandmother excuses her behavior, as if it gives her unlimited access to my home and life. But the restraining order has helped. She hasn't shown up or called my work. She's still posting passive-aggressive things on social media, but I've stopped paying attention. Caleb sometimes senses the tension. Grandma Patricia and Mommy had a disagreement about grown-up things. I tell him, but you'll still see her when you're with Daddy. Is Grandma Patricia mad at me? He asked last week. No, baby. She's not mad at you at all. Sometimes grown-ups disagree about things that have nothing to do with kids. It breaks my heart this affected him, but I refuse to feel guilty for protecting our boundaries. It's been 2 months since the restraining order was granted, and I finally feel like I can breathe again. Patricia has mostly respected the legal boundaries. She still sees Caleb during Marcus custody time, and those visits are going fine according to Caleb. The biggest change has been with Marcus. His custody threat was just bluster. He never filed anything. But our co-parenting has shifted. He's much colder now, which honestly is an improvement. Before, he tried to convince me her behavior was normal. Now he just handles the schedule and doesn't try to involve me in his family's drama. Daddy says you don't like Grandma Patricia, Caleb told me a few weeks ago. I was careful. Daddy and I see things differently sometimes, but I want you to have a good relationship with all your family. Do you like Grandma Patricia? I want Grandma Patricia to be happy, and I want you to enjoy your time with her. It's not a lie, but it's not the whole truth. Caleb's too young to understand all this. The most positive thing is connecting with other single mothers who've dealt with similar issues. Boundary violations from ex-in-laws are more common than I realized. My friend Jessica, who I met at a single mom support group, went through something similar. Her ex-father-in-law kept showing up, demanding to see his granddaughter. When I said he needed to coordinate with my ex-husband, he accused me of parental alienation and threatened to sue for grandparent rights. What did you do? Same thing you did. Documented everything and got a restraining order. It's been 3 years and he still sees my daughter during my ex's time, but he's learned to respect my boundaries. Hearing that others successfully navigated this gave me so much confidence. I've also started therapy. Dr. Williams has helped me understand Patricia's behavior was a form of emotional abuse, and that setting boundaries was not just appropriate, but necessary. You protected yourself and your child from someone who was violating your autonomy and using manipulation tactics, she told me. That's good parenting, not selfishness. Therapy helped me see patterns from my marriage I missed. Marcus' inability to see his mother's behavior as problematic, his minimizing my concerns, his expectation I just deal with unreasonable demands. You can't have a healthy relationship with someone who doesn't respect your boundaries, Dr. Williams explained. And you can't co-parent effectively with someone who undermines your authority as a parent. Looking back, I'm proud of how I handled this. It would have been easier to just let Patricia have unlimited access to avoid conflict. But that would have taught Caleb that boundaries don't matter, and aggressive behavior gets rewarded. Instead, he's learned that even family members need to treat each other with respect, and it's okay to stand up for yourself. Caleb seems happier and more settled now that the constant drama has ended. He still enjoys his time with Patricia, but he's not caught in the middle of adult conflicts anymore. And for the first time since my divorce, I feel like I'm actually in control of my own life. My home feels like a sanctuary again instead of a place where I'm constantly on guard. I still get the occasional passive-aggressive social media post from Patricia, and I'm sure she still complains to anyone who will listen about how I'm keeping her from her grandson, but none of that affects my daily life anymore. The restraining order expires next year. I haven't decided whether to renew it. Her behavior has been much better since the legal intervention, so maybe it won't be necessary, but I'm prepared to take whatever steps I need to protect my family's peace and security. To anyone else dealing with boundary violations from family, trust your instincts. If someone's behavior makes you uncomfortable, you have the right to set limits, even if they're related to your child. Being a grandparent, aunt, uncle, or step-family member doesn't give someone unlimited access to your home or your life. And to the people who think I was too harsh on Patricia, a grandmother who truly loves her grandson would respect his mother's reasonable boundaries. Love doesn't justify harassment, manipulation, or calling CPS over a visitation dispute. I'm raising my son to understand that love comes with respect, and that anyone who truly cares about him will show that care in healthy, appropriate ways. Patricia is still welcome to be part of Caleb's life, but only on terms that work for everyone involved. That's not punishment. That's what healthy relationships look like.